everybody, I'm in your face today and I'm going to be talking about underneath the hood, the front of the car. This is round 2. Actually, we just did the walk around the physical exterior of the vehicle. Now, this right here is very important because this right here may kill the whole car deal. So pay attention close, and I'm going to teach you what I'm looking for when I have now moved to the front of the vehicle. Like I said, this is part 2. Part 1 would have been the exterior walk around. Now 2, we're dealing with under the hood and how to work on that. So first thing I'm going to do is pop the hood. Put that on pause. So the first thing we want to do is the same rule always applies in every section we're going to. We're going to go up, then down, then all around. And in this case, we're going to add one more step, which is going to be fluid change or fluid check. We don't want to change the fluids if we're just looking at a car. So let's look up. All right, camera. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. Can you see?
Yes.
The first thing I'm going to point out, if it's an original factory hood, this is important because if your car's been in a collision, it's not worth as much as one that hasn't been in a collision. How can you tell? Very simple. You see these warnings up here? These are all factory stamps. And also, every hood that's coming from the factory pretty much is going to have a VIN number, especially on Toyotas. There's other ones. Some of that's not necessarily a factor, like guaranteed, but most of them do have the VIN number on it somewhere. As well as on the fenders, somewhere if it's original OEM, it's going to have the serial numbers on it. And it's going to have all the original factory stuff like the emissions control information, usually vacuum hose diagram, which those are pretty much useless, but anyway, little stuff from the factory. The other thing that's important, the stuff like this, you see the all the trim on it, and then the fire blanket, sound deadener, whatever you want to call it. Those are there from the factory. If yours doesn't have one, it's a good clue that something's went on with the hood. Another thing that could be going on under the hood, you're looking for any kind of discoloration. You're looking for anything up here that's going to be dealing with stuff splattering, any kind of damage whatsoever, and then you want to look underneath that if you see any. The other thing is you're looking for the crumple zones to make sure they're actually in good functional, they haven't been straightened out. That's what I do. Do what you want to do. That's what I do so I don't get burned. Alright, next we're going to go underneath the car, so let's put it on pause. Alright guys, so now we're in the down section of this. And basically you want to, boy, this is a tight fit. A lot of cars out there are really tight fit, but I'm looking at the oil pan. That's really my big concern. And let me tell you why it's my big concern. If we have a lot of oil seepage here, then we're probably possibly dealing with the rear main seal when you look at where this is the transmission on this side. And we're looking for anything that's showing excessive dripping or collection of fluids. Now, rear main seal is a deal changer, guys. This is a $1,000 job on some cars. This is nothing you want to play ball with. Not even think about playing ball with. Another thing, too, you can kind of see the condition of the exhaust from this angle. Also, you're kind of looking at the support subframe and all that stuff under here. This one, as we said already, is Jen's, and we know that it's in good shape. But I'm just kind of giving you a rough idea. So underneath, you're looking for a huge puddle of oil. And this right here may give you a second thought or consideration on whether or not you are into purchasing this vehicle based on the amount of possible repairs that would be done or needed to be done. Last but not least, just pointing out where the marriage of the transmission and the engine block is at. We're looking for any kind of oil underneath the transmission pan as well, and then underneath the oil pan of the yeah, how you like that? I had to put that on there. I'm waiting on a clip to come in. Jen claims that I ran over something, but I didn't. Alright guys, so that's what's going to take underneath the car. Okay, so remember we said up, down, and now all around. Now what am I looking for? Now I'm going to be looking at the sides of the fenders, and I'm going to see if all the paint looks right. And just see if anything looks on, you know, just out of, you know, we got the header over here over top of the radiator, which could be, if you see any kind of distortion whatsoever, just look for missing bolts, anything that gives you an indicator all around the trim levels, anything like that. And as I'm looking around this particular vehicle, I'll start at one point and start at, say, 10 o'clock and then go all the way around. So going around, the first thing I notice is Jen does seem to be a little low. Yeah, she's a little low on washer fluid, no big deal. I notice right here we have power steering that is low, and I also see that a leak is right here on the power steering return line. I knew about that. Don't tell her that I pointed it out in this video, but if you're looking at a car, these are all things that cost you money. So immediately right now, my inspection has told me that I need to consider about a $100 repair, probably, or at least get a price on it to see what the power steering return line hoses cost. Looking around here, it all looks good. Coming around here to the fluid for the brakes, looks good. I don't see any rust damage right here on the strut towers. Coming around here, it all looks good. It all looks factory. All looks factory again. So now under the hood, I've got to do the next phase, which is check the fluids. So I went up, down, I've looked all around, and now I need to check the fluids. So the first thing I'm interested in is what does it look like underneath this oil cap. This one's clean. If I see any kind of milky white stuff, any condensation, I immediately have red flags going on. This car is hot, so I'm not going to check it, but if I had the preference of looking at a car, I would tell them to have it ice cold, and when you got there, I would open up the radiator tab, only if it's ice cold, and make sure that the radiator fluid is the right color. Water in a radiator fluid is a big sign that something's wrong. Either A, they've had a leak, didn't take the time to recirculate, to put new fluid in, or they're just temporarily patching something. It's usually a sign of something really wrong. So always check the radiator fluid when it's cold. Hopefully you'll have access to where you can actually see it. And that's actually the radiator fill right there, I'm sorry. You see it's nice and pink, but if I pulled that up and it was milky or had any oil in it or anything like that in this overflow, I immediately have to say, look, I can't buy this car until a professional checks it out, because we cannot take a risk on the coolant system being bad. Oil dipstick, when you pull it, you're looking for clean oil. If it's really black and dirty, just make that a red flag. Not saying it's a bad car, but I'm just saying it's a red flag. Oil, generally speaking, shouldn't be that dirty if you're changing your cars out pretty regularly. And usually if someone's going to sell their car, they'll take the time to maintenance it. But if they didn't, okay. Another thing would be the transmission fluid. When you're pulling that, it should be the right color, which is happens to be the color that it's supposed to be. You can smell it and see if it smells burnt. This one doesn't. Of course, I have already serviced her transmission. Another thing too, guys, if someone tells you, well, this car doesn't need to have the transmission serviced, that is absolutely crap. The only reason a manufacturer says it's a non-service transmission, that just means during the warranty period. So if it's a 100,000 mile warranty, that's when it needs to be serviced. It does not mean forever, right? That's right. Next, we're going to take a look at the battery. If you see any kind of corrosion, go ahead and call that a $100 bill, because that's a sign of a bad battery. Okay, I think I've probably pretty much went over pretty much everything that's going to be under the hood. The next part of this is going to be related to probably the interior. I might do that, then I'm going to do a test drive, and I'm also going to be a trunk review. So stay tuned tomorrow, and we'll see what we're going to do next. Peace out, subscribe, support your troops, and support Jen at her new journey through the her pageant. And I think we've got a video out there on how you can support her, and she would definitely appreciate it. Meanwhile, love from the car man. We love you all across the world, man. Peace out.